a great local strong ownership group. And I think there's so many business leaders in the room here today that I'd urge you to get behind the team and purchase your season tickets. I'm sure Jeff will take the order right now. Well, maybe not right now, but in a few minutes. So thank you so much, Commissioner. And as a token of our appreciation, I'd like to present you with a small gift from Silver Star Swag. We're going to conduct a little bit of a prize draw here. Somewhat ironically, it's a Senators jersey, but I'm sure it's okay with you. All the pro sports teams are going to get along in this city, right?
I do live in Toronto, so.
And it's actually an autographed Chris Neal shirt, so it's a pretty nice takeaway this morning. And Commissioner, if you could do the draw.
I don't have my glasses on.
Okay, so the winner from 417 Bus Lines Limited is Mark LaPlante, the Vice President. You want to come forward? We'll do a Red Blacks one pretty soon. Yeah. Thank you again, Commissioner. We really appreciate your time here and coming into the city. Another big round of applause for Mark Cohen. So we just have a few closing remarks, and I wanted to take this opportunity to make an Ottawa Business Journal-related announcement. This week marks a significant milestone for Ottawa Business Journal as we launch a new division of our company called OBJ 360. And you can kind of think of this as an internal agency that's set up to help local businesses manage their social media, create blogs, videos, all this type of written content. In fact, we're doing some custom publishing for the Red Blacks right now. So think of OBJ 360 as a little bit of an internal marketing agency that can help you make sure that your marketing remains current today. And we have kind of two related gifts. Some of our sales and marketing team will be handing out postcards as you leave. And that postcard allows you to access something we call the 2014 Marketing Ideas Book. We interviewed 200 of the city's foremost marketing experts in a survey to create a sense of what local business leaders and marketing experts think is best practices. So you can access that survey. The information will be on the postcard. Also, we're offering everybody what we call a free social media report card. So we'll check out your social media channels and make some recommendations to you, and all that is for free. And while we have such a enthusiastic football audience, I did want to give a plug for a luncheon that's coming up on Tuesday, June 24th. I believe we've booked it in the mayor's schedule as well. Today was all about the CFL commissioner. That luncheon, which will happen in Jean Piggott Hall on Tuesday, June 24th, will be an opportunity for business leaders to meet the players and the coaches. So it'll be very focused on the team, and you'll get to see the fantastic talent we'll have as part of the new Red Blacks and get to know them a little bit better. And you can go to Ottawa Business Journal for ticket information on that. Also, I wanted to point out the 40 Under 40 Awards, a great business recognition series that's gone on, I believe, for 17 years in this city, will be happening on Thursday, June 19th at the Hilton Lac Leamy Hotel. On Thursday, June 4th, just coming up soon, the Eggs and Icons Breakfast Series will host Mark Monahan, of course, the Executive Director of Blues Fest. Blues Fest is celebrating its 20th anniversary, so it'll be fun having Mark and looking back over the first 2 decades of Blues Fest in our city. Another important event on Wednesday, June 11th, we'll have Wes Nickel, the founder of Tartan Homes, who is a recipient of our Lifetime Achievement Award at the Best Ottawa Business Awards. That happened in the fall. But in the spring, we actually unveil a plaque at the Plaza of Honor, which is located at the World Exchange Plaza. So we'll be unveiling that marble plaque and also having a luncheon tribute to Mr. Nickel on that date. And as the mayor indicated, the next mayor's breakfast is on Thursday, June 26th, and the guest speaker will be Mark Sierra from the new CEO of Tim Hortons. And for all these events, you can check out ottawachamber.ca. And let me just thank our sponsors once again before I send you off. Our lead sponsor, of course, is Carleton University's Sprott School of Business. Thank you so much to them. La Collège d'Art Appliqué et Technologie, the commissioner is Ottawa. CPA Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, TAG HR, Golder Associates, Silver Star Swag, there it is, the Ottawa Senators Hockey Club, and of course our great caterers, the Centurion Conference and Event Center. Thank you so much for attending. Hope to see you at the next Mayor's Breakfast.
Test 1, 2.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this morning for this meeting of the Community and Protective Services Committee, and we'll get underway. We have a fairly brief agenda today, but a couple of items to cover. We're going to go through a bit of a consent agenda here, and then we'll come back to the beginning. So first, are there any declarations of interest? No? Thank you very much. Calling for a confirmation of minutes. Minutes 32, April 17, 2014. Carried? Carried. Thank you very much. The first item is Crime Prevention Ottawa's annual report update, and of course that's under the guidance of our Vice Chair, Kadri. We're going to hold that. He's going to speak to that, and there's a bit of a presentation. The Aboriginal Working Committee update. This item was circulated with the agenda. There is a recommendation to, carry the, there's a recommendation to carry the staff recommendations there, which offer some one-time funding for that endeavor as a result of changes in federal funding. So we're being asked to approve the update of the Working Committee terms of reference and provide one-time bridge funding contribution in the amount of $15,000 to sustain their operations from the period of April 1st to June 30th, as described in the report. Is there any desire to hold that for discussion? No. Carried? Carried. Thank you very much. Third item, we're going to hold that, Ottawa Community Housing Corporation mortgage refinancing. I know members of committee were circulated some information earlier this week that I think addressed any issues. We are going to hold it because we do have one speaker on it. And Ms. Scarf, are you here in the audience? Yeah, this particular item is with regard to the refinancing of several mortgages for OCH properties. It's not a kind of general discussion on housing and poverty. We have other forums for that. Did you want to? I'm sorry? Well, we have regular ongoing discussions with a variety of stakeholders, including the Alliance to End Homelessness, which feeds into our poverty reduction strategy. Well, I get my question to you is, do you want to speak on the mortgage refinancing issue? Oh. Okay, all right. Well, I wouldn't. Well, how about this? If you. Okay, if you have Ms. Scarf, if you have comments on housing and homelessness or the city's strategy, I would invite you to email me, email our general manager, Aaron Burry, who handles community and social services, and we can begin a discussion on your issues that way. At whatever relevant time that there's an item on the agenda, yes. All right. Well, with that, is there any desire to hold the item Ottawa Community Housing Corporation mortgage refinancing? Then we don't have any speakers on it.
No, it's a great initiative.
Okay. I think we can all agree that it's of great benefit refinancing these properties, and credit to OCH for doing so. It allows us to put more money, less on interest, more on repairs, which is where it's needed. And thank you to OCH and to Councillor Fleury for facilitating getting a breakdown of exactly where this money is translating into benefit for residents. And that was circulated earlier this week. So with that, is that item carried? Carried. Thank you very much. Item number 4, the Ottawa Paramedic Service Annual Report. If anybody wishes to hold this, we can. Otherwise, I would just ask that our Chief, DeMonte, who's here, will make it painless for him this morning. Maybe provide just a few context comments, if you would.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity as well. You have before you the annual report as part of our accountability to you and the community we serve. Again, this year, 119,000 calls, so we continue to track as we have year over year. Pleased to report that both quantitatively with regards to response time, we met and achieved all the response times that you've tasked us to do. And from a qualitative perspective, our patient outcomes in many areas, we tend to be leaders not only in Canada but in North America, for instance, for cardiac arrest survival. So we're really proud of that. I think two reasons why we continue to perform as we do, regardless of the pressure. One, the ongoing support we get from you, and just as importantly, the members of the service that amaze me every day of their commitment to the community and how they get out there on the road and serve. And two programs with regards to innovation. Our paramedic response unit, which is now best practice, continues to perform and outperform our expectations, and the partnerships with our healthcare partners, the hospitals who have tremendous challenges with offload delay. We've been working with them for several years, and we're seeing very positive trends which return unit hours to the community. So in general, pleased to present this, and I want to once again thank you and committee, all of council, and certainly our members that do a very difficult job on a daily basis.
Thank you very much, Chief, and credit to you and your service for doing some very difficult work on a day-to-day basis, and it's seamless, and we thank you for every time your folks roll out to help one of our residents. So with that, item number 4, the Paramedic Service Report Annual Report, is that carried? Carried. Okay, so that leaves us with the Crime Prevention Ottawa Annual Report. We'll let Councillor Caudry lead us through that now. And I was just informed by our General Manager of Community and Social Services that some members of the Aboriginal Working Committee attended this morning, and a bit of a cause for confusion, but we're happy that we've given them yes for an answer, but they still would like to give us a bit of an update. So with committee's indulgence, after the Crime Prevention Ottawa report, I think we'd all benefit, I'm sure, hearing from the good work they're doing. So with that, Vice Chair Caudry, if you can lead us through CPO.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, pour l'opportunité de présenter devant vous ce matin. Je suis fier d'être président de Prévention de Crime Ottawa. Je vais faire mon présentation en anglais, mais Nancy peut facilement répondre aux questions en français. Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. Just want to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to present the Crime Prevention Annual General Meeting Report that's in front of you for approval this morning, and then will be presented to Council. The presentation today is Crime Prevention Ottawa's Annual Report to Council. In your documents, you will find our action report covering last year's activities, as well as analysis of CPO's public engagement policies. After an overview of our accomplishment this year, we will briefly review our work on engaging the public. Engaging the public is a priority for CPO. On Monday of this week, we hosted a panel, Men's Role in Ending Violence Against Women. It was attended by approximately 190 people, and added with some of my colleagues. Councillor Shantiri was there, Councillor David Chernyshchenko was there, along with Chief Bordlow and Chief DeHuij, representing the city. So it shows you that all of our partners in the community are participating in our process of going forward. Community safety depends on the commitment and engagement of the entire community. That is why we have reviewed our work on public engagement as part of this year's report, just to focus on how important the public engagement is in our programs. Violence against women is an important social issue, and Crime Prevention Ottawa keeps a strong focus on it. Following up on a recommendation from our groundbreaking research on social media and sexual violence, CPO funded a program called In Love and in Danger, an action project in 2 school boards which focused on this subject. We're thrilled to say that our contract researcher, Jordan Fairburn, is presenting the study again as the keynote speech for Safe City, Mississauga next month. Furthermore, our study was the only background research cited in the recent Status of Women Canada call for proposals on the subject. And as you can see from this project listed on the slide, we're also supporting partnership to address alcohol-fueled sexual assault, supporting men to become advocates for change, assisting school boards to teach healthy relationship skills, and we're exploring the connections between women's safety and neighborhood safety, because I think they're all both connected. And women's safety is not only based in the community, but it's also based in family life, and that's another major connection to that, ending violence against women. Finally, we're very proud of our innovative work on disability and abuse. We were nominated for an award last December at the Celebration of People event, and we published a booklet this winter for vulnerable clients. The booklet is clearly meeting a need because we have already distributed more than 3,500 copies of that booklet. And yes, as I mentioned earlier, you can see our programs on the slide: social media, sexual violence, and love and danger, and so on. The slides there for everybody else to look at. I can read every word, but I think it's self-explanatory. Accomplishments in neighborhoods. In January of 2013, we published a short literature review on the subject of home takeover. The paper was called Cocooning. Because almost everything we could find on the subject was from Britain, the cuckoo bird lays its eggs in another bird's nest after having killed off the eggs of a rightful owner of the nest, thus the name cocooning. A fitting image for this phenomenon, but a name we found did not work here, as Canadian birds are more polite than British birds. Note the last sentence is not a joke, but it is almost a reality. We got such strong reaction to the first literature review on a home takeover that we created a follow-up committee. Since then, we have done more research, produced some public education pieces, funded a project, and built a partnership to address this complex issue. This is an example of how nimble and responsive our staff is, and large network can be responding to safety issues. A great deal of public disorder and neighborhood deterioration emanates from homes in which the rightful tenant has lost control. We're seeking new and innovative ways of intervening in these complex situations. Crime Prevention Ottawa continues to support neighborhoods through committees, research, and our neighborhood toolkit. On a policy level, we've been working diligently to manage the Community Development Safety Committee and continue to work towards a coordinated approach to problem addresses. One of the examples was presented last evening on CTV News, if you saw that, about home takeovers, and I thought it was a good article last evening for the public. The next project was the accomplishment for youth issues. Our gang strategy. Just last June, we presented as part of our annual report to CPS the Ottawa Gang Strategy, serving as the backbone on the initiative. This continues to be a major part of CPO's work. The gang strategy includes 8 interlinked projects. CPO is funding 3 of the projects, involved to some extent in all of them, and leads the collaboration or the collective impact. Our board is expecting a report on the first year of the gang strategy at our September meeting. As you know, Ottawa is blessed with many excellent youth servicing agencies. Crime prevention also seeks to align with current initiatives and be a constructive contributor to multiple networks. The piece that you may not see on the slide, and I think is very important, is our partners in the gang strategy, both the Ottawa Police Service and along with our community partners. That's how this strategy is being put together. So we are getting the community involved, as I initially said. Accomplishments and public engagements. CPO's mission is to promote active community participation in crime prevention initiative through awareness and education. By working with our partners across the city, we are educating and engaging our residents. Knowledge is power. CPO is committed to an evidence-based approach. In keeping with that approach, we took some time to step back and review our work on public engagement. I'll present Nancy Worsfold, the Executive Director of Crime Prevention Ottawa, to carry you through the rest of the presentation. And I thank you for your attention to our presentation. Nancy.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président et conseiller. Pour prévention du crime à Ottawa, la mobilisation de la public est centrale pour notre travail. C'est pour cette raison que nous avons décidé d'évaluer nos efforts. Et je remercie Nicole qui est là, qui a fait le travail pour nous d'évaluation. Nous engageons le public avec plusieurs méthodes. Publication, médias, comités et surtout avec les événements publics. Comme vous pouvez noter, nous avons organisé 54 événements publics depuis notre création. Et ça compte pas l'événement dont le conseiller Kadri a fait référence cette semaine. We have done evaluations of the vast majority of our events. The majority of our events have been evaluated electronically on the web. And the following results of our evaluation are based on those electronically evaluated surveys. Previous to using electronic methods, we did evaluate our events on paper, and we used that feedback constructively to improve our work, but this report, for the purposes of this report, we did not manually calculate the results of the earlier events. Obviously, a key question with regards to our evaluation was, did the event meet people's expectations? And we are pleased to say that 86% noted that they were satisfied or very satisfied. And I've invited Bill Watson, who is also one of our ambassadors, to explain how these events have been useful in his work in the community.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Yes, as it turns out, like I've attended probably 10 or more of the community events, and I find that that the information that we have is extremely good to share with everyone, and I've also found that the majority of the questions that I have received from the community is where do they start? Where could they start to fix a problem that they may have, be it neighbors or whatever, and with the various the toolkit and that we the CPO group has online and the various other information that is online, they can easily access this info, and it really makes it does make a difference. And I find that that the events that all of the every one of the events that I've attended, the people are extremely pleased that there is a group like CPO that is available for sharing information.
Thank you very much, Bill. We're always seeking to make sure that what we do is useful for the community, and I think thank you for sharing your experience. Another piece that we're very interested in is how we grow our network. Because to engage a committed group of people who are concerned about safety in Ottawa, we have to engage people, and we always ask when we evaluate our events how people found out about the events in the effort of growing our network. Notwithstanding our networked age, we found that the vast majority of participants hear about our events either because we have engaged them previously, directly, or because somebody who has engaged with us tells them. So that's the CPO communique or friend or coworker. The only way that people get onto our CPO communique list is from person-to-person contact. If you talk to me and give me your business card, you end up on our list. And it is by far our most powerful engagement vehicle. People can sign up for our lists electronically, but we find that it's person-to-person that really works. How else do we engage the public? Because public engagement is not just about big public events for information. Most of the actual work we do is through project work with community committees and community presentations. The connections built there are more complex, and we are asking more of people in that setting. We're engaging them at a deeper level. In fact, we're asking them to act. Our most committed group of volunteers is the ambassadors, and Bill is one of our ambassadors. The role of the ambassadors is, because CPO has a very small staff, there's only 3 of us, and we found that we were getting asked to attend more events than we could manage. So we've got a group of trained volunteers who go out and represent our work and bring our materials and so on out in the community. And we're very grateful for the volunteer efforts. Obviously, not all contact can be in person, so we also looked at our publications as engagement tools. By far, our most popular piece has been our neighborhood toolkit magnets, and since the launch of our toolkit in 2010, we've distributed 57,000 magnets. Our goal, as I've not ashamed to say, is to get a magnet on every fridge in Ottawa, so we're only a sixth of the way there, but we're quite proud of that figure, and I get asked for them all the time. We send them to organizations who distribute them, so the idea of the magnets is to encourage people to seek help. We did not analyze our website in the context of this public education review because we're planning on doing a full analysis of that next year. Another piece of the analysis of our public engagement was a comparison of the work that we've been doing over the years and the city's new public engagement strategy. It was an extremely interesting process for us to look at the city's engagement strategy and what we've been doing, because we found that we were actually up to something a little bit different. The city's public engagement strategy focused a bit more on engaging the public in important city decisions, but perhaps because we're so small, we don't have a lot of great big public decisions to be made, so our work is much more focused on motivation and motivating people to get involved and to be volunteers. We want to get people involved in community safety because we know that the success of community safety is only going to work when everybody gets involved. And here's an enthusiastic volunteer. Nevertheless, the review of the city strategy in comparison to our work helped us focus and analyze our work and to ensure that we're on the right track. Finally, in the analysis of our public engagement, we were quite satisfied that we're engaging the public and that we have a sense that we're succeeding in doing that, but we can always get better. Et on avait 2 grandes recommandations pour améliorer notre travail. Et ça, un, c'est de réviser nos évaluations pour être sûr qu'on évalue pas juste pour la satisfaction de nos clients, mais aussi pour voir si l'information qu'on distribue est utilisée. Et deuxièmement, pour l'autre recommandation, c'est améliorer notre présence dans les médias sociaux. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Si vous avez des questions.
That concludes our presentation, Mr. Chair, and we're open for questions.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Kadri and Nancy and Shamarke, and I'm sorry, I missed your name when they said it. They said
Bill.
Bill. Well, thank you very much. You're the most committed volunteer ever. You're zooming the crowd to hand out magnets. Well, the presentation was great, thank you, and I think we all kind of laud the work that CPO is doing. And I appreciate the difficult space you're in because every project, every department has to show value for what it does, but it's very difficult to measure something that doesn't take place. Right? You're in the prevention business, so I think you do an incredibly good job of showing how the work that you're doing staves off, some negative consequences in our society and puts people on good paths rather than bad paths. So credit to you and the team for the work you're doing. I know Shamarke is here this morning. You've got some new additions to your team, so good for you for broadening your bench strength. Are there any members of committee who have questions for the presenters? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much then, and members of the committee will receive this. See? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And now We'll ask, although we've carried the item, we'll ask the members of the Aboriginal Working Committee who have come today to come down and offer us a little bit of an update on what they're doing and perhaps answer any questions if we have them. But certainly love to hear from you and hear about the work you're doing.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'm very pleased to be here today to introduce the work of the Aboriginal Working Committee. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Algonquin people on whose traditional territory the City of Ottawa is located. We began this journey in 2007, as many of the councillors that I see around this committee recall, and I'm very proud of how we've grown together to improve the service delivery for urban Aboriginal people in our community. And today I'm joined by the Aboriginal Working Committee partners and colleagues who will be participating in the presentation this morning and are also in the audience behind me. And I'll start by introducing who's up here with me right now. Right beside me is Mark Miracle, who you all know is the co-chair of the Aboriginal Working Committee and the Executive Director of Giggle Housing. And Mark's been with AWC since the beginning and chairs the Ottawa Aboriginal Coalition. Tina Sloan-White, the Executive Director of Tawagan Housing for Aboriginal Youth. Tina has become a valuable member of the AWC for numerous years. And the other presenter is Susan McDonald, who's the Superintendent of Instruction, Aboriginal Portfolio for the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board, and who's our newest member of the AWC, but has contributed a great deal in the short time she's been with us, and it's been a pleasure to get to know her. And of course, you all know Clara Freire, who's one of our managers in Community and Social Services, who oversees this portfolio and has been guiding this initiative and supporting this initiative from day one. I'd also like to acknowledge Joe McQuarrie, Métis Elder, and Joe is in the audience behind me and has been an active participant, has been with us from the beginning, and has been a real treasure that we have here in our community. David Snoddy from Ottawa Police Service, who's in the background. Veronique Dupuis from the Ottawa Public Library. Susan Jones, our General Manager for Emergency Protective Services, here is also on the committee. Aaron Burry is on the committee. Donna Gray is also in the audience, who's on the committee, and many of our general managers are actually in the committee. And that kind of leads to my next point. When we first began, we only started engaging a few departments in city operations and start addressing the issues experienced by urban Aboriginal people in Ottawa. And since then, we have over 25 staff representing 10 city departments who participate in AWC. So we have a very healthy turnout when we have our meetings. We have departments that are included now are Ottawa Public Health, Parks, Recreation and Cultural Services, Community and Social Services, Service Ottawa, Human Resources, Ottawa Public Library, EPS, Transit Services, and of course Ottawa Police Service. Everyone's at the table now, and they see this as part of their role and responsibility in terms of dealing with these issues and taking back these issues to their departments. And of course, the backbone for the support of this initiative is provided by the staff in Community and Social Services. I'd like to acknowledge the work that Gloria Garbio is doing, Claire Freire is here, Colleen Hendrick, and Jennifer Charles. And of course, I mentioned Donna Gray, who's in the audience. This initiative actually started back in 2007 when I was in the Community and Protective Services portfolio. That was my responsibility at the time, and Donna was leading business services, and Donna actually initiated this initiative and started this initiative when we were back in the old Community Services Committee with Diane Holmes, and the leadership of the Aboriginal Coalition came here, and Donna took on the responsibility of developing the strategy, developing the relationships, and starting the initiatives that we've since have come to accept and endorse and support as part of our regular business. And Clara has been a wonderful support for that, because she was there from the beginning with Donna, working with Donna, and now has changed departments, but is still actively involved with Colleen and her team. So with that introduction, that context, I'd like to turn it over to Mark, who, as the co-chair of the Aboriginal Working Committee, to lead us off with the content of the presentation. Mark.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Steve. It is my pleasure to be here today to present the Aboriginal Working Committee's report, and once again to acknowledge the support that Council has provided in the past, but also the excellent working relationship that we've had as a community with city officials. The purpose of the presentation is to provide highlights of the work of this municipal Aboriginal relationship that we're all collectively very proud of. I'll start out by providing some background and context to the AWC's work. Ottawa, as you know, is a prime destination for many Aboriginal people throughout Canada seeking employment and supports and opportunities in a major urban area such as Ottawa. And based on the 2011 National Household Survey, there's approximately 18,000 Aboriginal people that have been identified living in the city of Ottawa. However, through organizational experience and having a pretty good in-depth knowledge of the amount of people, Aboriginal people in the National Capital Region, that number we believe is actually closer to 40,000. And that's indicative in most major urban areas that it's underreported in any survey or census that's been taken. The actual number is quite high, much higher. The Aboriginal population here in Ottawa is no different than the rest of the country. It's very young, with approximately 50% of our population under the age of 24. And what's even further more notable is that almost 40% of that population is under the age of 15. So as a result of that, one of our main priorities is absolutely children and youth, and we're driven by the demographics. In Ottawa, Aboriginal service providers have had a benefit of working together as part of our coalition, and we actually came together in 2001 as part of our response to the city around the issue of homelessness. But certainly the needs of the community are great and varied, and the coalition is able to provide a more focused voice in representing those interests to the city and working in partnership with anybody to advance issues of concern. Our coalition is made up of a cross-section of service providers that include the Wabano Centre for Aboriginal Health, the Ottawa Inuit Children's Centre, Tuagan House, Transition House, Kajita Meekum, but there's definitely a range of housing, homelessness, health, cultural through the Ottawa Native Friendship Centres, to name but a few. To date, the coalition has concentrated its efforts to develop relationships under four main areas. Certainly the municipal relationship is primary. We also have a secondary stream of relationship building with the United Way. And we have done capacity building to amplify our voice within that organization, and we're at a point now where they're actually matching donors with Aboriginal organizations to take advantage. So recently, Accenture came forward with an opportunity to work with Aboriginal women in being better prepared for the labor force. So that's a 2-year commitment, and they're working directly with Minwashin Lodge. Last summer, the National Gallery of Canada had an international art exhibit of Indigenous artists from across the world. It was the largest of its kind, and a donor graciously came forward and wanted to amplify again the inclusion of Aboriginal youth to experience the exhibit, but also to provide programming opportunities here in the city with Aboriginal youth to access the exhibit and also be more exposed to cultural activities that were both contemporary and traditional. And as a result of that, the coalition is being recognized by the United Way later on this month as a community builder with respect to that. We also have another stream of relationship building with the federal government that's been primarily through the Urban Aboriginal Strategy, which is provided through the Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development Canada. They've changed their recent approach, and that was part of the request that we came forward on the monetary side, and we thank you very much for your support. we're still working with the federal government, and we're hopeful to maintain the relationship that we've had in the past number of years to support the capacity building at the community level. The fourth stream has been with the provincial government through the Ministry of Aboriginal Affairs, who also participate in the Urban Aboriginal Strategy and provide some level of funding to build capacity, but their participation is only matching the federal contribution, and that was again part of the delay in the revised relationship with the federal government and the provincial government, having some delay in matching until we knew what the outcome was with the federal government. I would say that we've got a fifth stream of relationship building that's emerging, and we'll hear more from Susan, and that's with the school boards, both the Ottawa Carleton District School Board as well as the Catholic School Board. And again, what's driving the relationship is the demographics. We've got an overwhelmingly young population, and the need to get better attainment in the school system, and having our children recognized and valued, and being progressive. And certainly the Ottawa Carleton District School Board has done a number of things in the recent number of years to help work with the community and our organizations and our children and our families to make that happen. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tina, and she'll talk about more of an update. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. I'm happy to be here today to participate in this important presentation. We've come a long way since 2004 when Wabano Centre for Aboriginal Health, together with the OAC partners, presented the Silent Crisis report to the City then Health, Recreation and Social Services Committee. That report requested that the City demonstrate leadership in working with us to address important issues facing the Aboriginal community. The City responded and in 2007 formally created the Aboriginal Working Committee to build a partnership with Aboriginal service providers, and so that together we can identify and develop solutions to address the needs of the community. The Aboriginal Working Committee has evolved into an Aboriginal collaborative partnership model and has led us through the journey of mutual trust building, reflection, information sharing, inclusive decision making, and action. Key partners right now, in addition to the City and the OAC, are the United Way, the Ottawa Police Service, and the Ottawa Carleton District School Board. The Aboriginal Working Committee brings together senior officials from these diverse service areas and Aboriginal Coalition community members to move forward collectively in action plans to improve service delivery to Aboriginal community. Some of the accomplishments you'll hear about is the highlights and the outcomes emanating from this collective work. The accomplishments speak to each area of the AWC's mandate and to service priorities identified as important by Aboriginal Community Ottawa. The OAC is proud to actively support the work of the AWC. Over the past 3 years, Ottawa Public Health intensified dental health promotion, including establishing ongoing monthly screening clinics at both Wabano Centre for Aboriginal Health and Tusuvanunit TI Family Centre. As well, OPH continued events in healthy eating with food handler training, community food advisors, and food skill workshops. Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Service departments extended their series of I Love To programs to Aboriginal agencies to increase participation to 180 Aboriginal youth last year. Ottawa Police Service continued to offer their soccer mentorship program to the Aboriginal community and work with partners in order to have Aboriginal youth participate. The Community and Social Services Department provided funding to Aboriginal community agencies to provide programs and services such as mental health, addictions, and culturally specific programming for children, and provided emergency temporary space to Ottawa Native Friendship Centre when their facility flooded last year.
It's a pleasure to be here today and to be part of the AWC. The Ottawa Carleton District School Board has been working very hard over these last few years to learn to listen and work with the Aboriginal community in Ottawa in order to better serve the children and youth in our schools. Our partnership with AWC has been absolutely critical in our growth in this area. For example, the Ottawa Carleton District School Board recently opened their community Aboriginal learning space at Rideau High School in order to provide a safe and respectful space for educational programming at the local school level, Aboriginal student-specific programming board-wide, as well as a culturally responsive gathering space for events held with and by the Aboriginal community. In the fall of 2013, the Ottawa Carleton District School Board held a community opening for the 100 Years of Loss exhibition that they hosted for 2 weeks. The OCDSB hosted this exhibition to support the teacher toolkits that have been purchased and are being used in all grades 7 to 12 sites across the school board. These toolkits work together with the exhibition to detail the residential school system and are aimed at educating all Canadians on the history, legacy, and intergenerational impacts of the school system that continue to affect Aboriginal communities today. Our goal as a school system is to ensure that nobody leaves our board without understanding the impact of the residential school system that continues to affect communities today. The city has created a Staff Aboriginal Awareness Day, now an annual event for city staff, management, and community partner staff to build knowledge and understanding about Aboriginal cultures. Ottawa Public Library hosted culturally specific programs and events, including Aboriginal author David Bouchard, who presented to over 500 students at Rideau High School. In terms of employment and economic development, the city has worked closely with OAC to promote municipal jobs to the Aboriginal community through participation in career fairs and on-site visits with Aboriginal partners. The Youth Futures program saw an increase in Aboriginal youth recruited into the program in 2013 due to collaborative outreach support from AWC partners. The city's Community and Social Services Department hosted a 4-day employment workshop series focusing on development of career skills with over 35 youth participating from the Wabano Centre for Aboriginal Health and Kachidi Macam. And an example of systemic change, in response to the Kingfisher Lake First Nations evacuation in July of 2011, the city's Emergency and Protective Services Department worked with numerous AWC partners to alter the city's emergency plan and put a permanent policy and protocol in place that now engages Aboriginal service providers at the outset whenever a northern evacuation to Ottawa occurs. Mark spoke briefly about Sakahan. In 2013, the United Way, as an AWC partner, facilitated an anonymous donation of $195,000 to increase participation of Aboriginal youth in the Sakahan art exhibit showing at the National Gallery of Canada last summer. Over 250 Aboriginal youth participated in specialized summer camps and workshops designed to bring together the Aboriginal community in Ottawa, local artists, and Indigenous artists to participate in the Sakahan exhibition.
Now, just in terms of the evaluation and next steps, in 2012, the Aboriginal Working Committee membership identified the need to conduct an evaluation to review our work in order to identify more strategic alignment between the Working Committee and the Aboriginal community priorities and organizational partner strategic goals. So the intention was to produce a document that could be used as a best practice review not only for our own relationship, but for other municipalities and urban Aboriginal coalitions with a view to leverage support from both the national and provincial policy and planning and potential funding bodies. The evaluation explored a number of success factors and challenges in the past 6 years and identified some ideas for moving forward. So without this valuable perspective of both former and current members of the Aboriginal Working Committee, we would not have been able to gain the clear picture of what our work has meant, both to community as well as to the partnership. So we now have good feedback to consider together, areas of improvement and involving the actual relationship and partnership that we have. Some of the key findings, over 30 members of the working committee participated in the evaluation, and the findings show that the members were overwhelmingly convinced that the working committee had been very successful in achieving its mandate and dealing with its responsibilities and developing outcomes that had an effective priority setting and work planning process. Several key successes were noted that included a deliberate focus on trust and relationship building, that we were using a collaborative leadership model both within the coalition at the Aboriginal community level as well as with the city, dedicated senior leadership within the city and among our partnership, commitment to learn about and listen to the Aboriginal community, and finally a commitment to work in a coordinated and integrated way across the city departments and service areas and organizations. So areas for improvement and future work, the feedback indicated 3 areas for us to focus on in the immediate future, that being strengthened community visioning and consultation to work on determining priorities for the next 5 years, a greater focus on outcomes and performance indicators, which need to be developed to fully document and understand as well as celebrate what we have accomplished. So there's definitely a commitment to focus on measurement. And finally, refocusing our work plan, both in the development of initiatives and how information is being shared back into the community and across organizations. And the intention here is really to remain current with the issues and concerns that are there at the community level and opportunities that may present themselves. And in conclusion, the Aboriginal Working Committee will define concrete next steps based on the results of the evaluation that include explore conducting an Aboriginal Working Committee visioning and priority setting exercise to be renewed every 2 to 3 years, to strategize on how to deepen the cultural awareness of Aboriginal populations and communities among key city staff and across partner organizations in order to integrate that learning in everyday work, update and restructure our work plan with definable, measurable outcomes linked to community-wide priorities, develop a model of strategic relationship building, review our membership to ensure growth and sustainability of both our leadership and commitment over the next 5 years. And once again, we're very proud of the partnership that's been created through the Aboriginal Working Committee and the relationship with the city overall, and look forward to continuing this journey over the next several years. And that concludes our presentation, and I'll pass it back to Steve for questions. Thank you.
Well, that's it, Mr. Chair, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for the presentation. As I said at the outset, we carried your items, so success is success, but thank you for the presentation because I think it gave us a good overview of what you've been working on and all of the progress you've made. I mean, in 7 years, you've moved from interest to listening to hearing to collaboration, which is a lot of ground to cover in a relatively short space of time. So credit to everybody involved that you've done it. I don't know if my colleagues have questions. My only question really revolves around, in your next steps, you talked around a little bit about kind of evolving the membership of your working committee. And I don't know if you've ever considered it or it's been a factor for discussion, but you know, one of the great opportunities I think that maybe we don't always capitalize on, especially here being in the national capital, is the opportunity to reflect a lot of the you know, the Aboriginal kind of heritage throughout kind of the built form and things like that. So wondering if it's just food for thought. It's really not so much a question as it is just putting it out there for you, but broadening out that membership to include members of the business community that are influential in terms of, you know, things like developing, developers, builders, you know, folks who have designers, thank you, Councillor, you know, folks who have an additional hand above and beyond the government in terms of shaping the look and feel of the city. And I think many private entities simply don't, like any private entity, they're very much in their own box, and they don't consider anything outside their box unless someone woke them up to it. But they're not averse to it if someone visited them. And I know we've been having success in other areas, certainly Councillor Fleury with kind of the youth engagement strategy, Clara, Colleen and her team with the senior and older adult engagement strategy. Oftentimes it just takes a discussion with the private sector to say, be aware that this is part of our community too, and quite often they're open to it. So I guess it's not so much question as it is feedback, but I don't know if you want to comment on it. Up to you.
Well, thank you very much for that observation, and that's actually something that our coalition and our relationship, we actually have formal inclusion of a representative from the Aboriginal business community, and it's an area that I think is underserved, and certainly something that we need to make a better effort to have an engagement with the business community. Again, some of the success that we have had is because it's not the usual suspects that are sitting around the table. Our approach has been very practical, and you can see it actually in some of the work that organizations have done. We just completed 2 years ago a 28-unit affordable housing initiative on Cummings Avenue and Mr. Tierney's riding that's contributed to that part of the community. Wabano just completed a $15 million expansion that's revitalized Vanier. And, again, those are practical turns by organizations, but they have business implications as well. One of the things that we talked about in a presentation last year from Kevin Page was looking at the economic impact and contribution of Aboriginal people in this community over the years right now, and it's really about focusing on positive assets and building them, and certainly take your suggestion to heart. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. And I don't want to make it seem like you haven't been doing it. It's just you've done a lot. You've done quite a lot of work in 7 years, so it's I think it's a natural progression. It's kind of the next place to go. You've got, governments on side, you've got community on side, and thinking now, kind of actively thinking. So I think business and private sector are probably next.
I would have only one comment to that, and it's, you reference you. It's really we. And I think as much as anything, this is about making Aboriginal people feel comfortable that Ottawa is their city too.
Absolutely. Agreed. Are there... Yes, Councillor Holmes.
Just a quick comment. I want to say what a wonderful asset this network is for Ottawa. We're so lucky to have you all working together, and as the network gets larger and larger and more effective, it's really wonderful to see. So congrats to Mr. Kanalakis and his gang, and all the members of the network. You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Thank you very much for your presentation today and for taking time with us. Moving on, that's the end of the formal agenda piece. Are there any in-camera items? No. Information previously distributed. There is an item here, an IPD that was distributed, an update on the implementation of the 2014 Child Care Service Plan. And I just did want to take this opportunity to remind members of committee that Dr. Burry's department is in the midst of a child care plan review. And there are many input mechanisms through that review process, but in addition to those, I think we're always open to looking at opportunities to involve and engage folks in the review process, either from within the formalized child care community or, even just parents who are, providing interest. And I attended several sessions throughout last year. There were many, parents and families who came out to provide feedback, but Dr. Burry, maybe you can comment on that, but the engagement and the openness and the transparency piece around this evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. And even recently with the stakeholders group coming back together, those meetings are ongoing. we're rolling out a series of changes, and we're trying to provide, advance information as well as where we hope to be over 6 to 8 months down the road. Obviously, when you start talking about where you plan to be, some groups want to have information immediately as to what it's all going to mean, and it's a process that we're going through, and that's continuing, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Question, Mr. Chair. Is there an opportunity coming up when there could be some feedback from the community in some kind of a public methodology?
We have that built in. There's ongoing representatives from all the different communities that come around, the stakeholders. Every information, every piece of decision-making is all posted. Anyone who wants that can have emails to it that goes out automatically. We've also had other meetings with other groups. We had a request specifically last week for the Francophone group to have a unique and Francophone session, and we did that.
So there are more sessions coming up where
there are
the
definitely more sessions.
Child care community can come forward with their comments and questions.
It's ongoing. It's ongoing.
And everybody's aware of these sessions?
Yes, they are. It's all publicly posted.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Perhaps what we could do is ask Dr. Burry to come up with a 1 or 2 pager outlining the child care review strategy and those critical points for public discussion, and circulate it to members of council so that if anybody gets an inquiry, you have a document you can go to and very easily identifies opportunities for engagement.
I think it's important as well to identify who the representatives are from those communities, and we'll do that as well, because we believe that the communities, and we've been advising them, is the reason that we have a stakeholders reference group is so that they can also have a direct representative who is will then fan out to their networks, which are the significant number of stakeholders involved in childcare, parent groups, etc. And we've made that information available to anyone who's asked for it.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Burry.
Can we just ask, as your direction to staff, to make sure that we get the numbers of kids that are being helped every year? That's in the end what we want, right? I understand there's a change in process, but we want to make sure the kids get the subsidies.
Okay, so that IPD received? Received. Thank you very much. Notices of motion for consideration at subsequent meetings. I know Councillor Chiarelli has one. Are there any others? Councillor Chiarelli, over to you.
All right, Mr. Chair. Councillor Caudry suggested I read the whole thing, but since it's small print on legal size, I think he's dreaming. This is just a notice of motion to take an approach when dealing with gaining access in areas where individuals are renting out 3 rooms or fewer in their homes to ensure they're complying with rooming house and other legislation that we have in place. It's there. Everyone can read it.
All right. Thank you very much. And that's a notice of motion, so everybody will have ample time to read all the fine print before it comes back to the next meeting. With that, are there any inquiries? Other business? Then we are adjourned. Thank you very much for coming today.